I'm glad to see the chairs do have the cushions have that.
You do have storage underneath here as well. You'll have to take the screws out to access it. I got a feeling that's where the water pump's going to be. If I don't find it anywhere else, I'll go get a screw gun and we'll take the screws out and I'll go over the winterization. I'm just trying to cool it off a little bit here. We'll start here in the bathroom. Shower is just a standard shower. Now, turn the water on, you're not getting water. You have a hose. On your toilet, again, if the plumb directly down into that black so if you'll try to leave a little bit of water in the bottom of it like that, that'll help the smell and stuff like that. You've got a lid over your head, controlled by the switch there.
Now we can, since they put the covers on, I can leave that open in the rain.
Yeah, I really don't advise. I mean, you can, but I mean, if it's a real hard rain, I would. You should have this toilet paper over here. Used to, we were minding it, but then we had a couple people who might have it like that.
Yeah.
On your door, you're in transit, you definitely want to make sure you're secure. It's going to get there, it's going to start spinning back and forth. And don't take the rest of the trash out. You said you got some water. They've had the water heater on and it's really hot if you want to feel, but like that's pretty hot.
I was going to ask you about, I never have understood, and I've had 3 campers, all 3 of them done that electric and gas. Do you leave the electric on all the time, but the heater don't come on until you turn it on up here?
Come out the water heater?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you've got 2 controls. When you turn it on here, it's on electric. If you turn it on here, it's on gas. So when you turn it on electric, if it's on, it's on.
Oh, it's on.
You don't have this is your own off switch.
So that has to be off. Let it off when you're traveling.
Okay. In your case, you don't have an inverter. So even if you were traveling and you left that on, you do not have a 110 power source coming to your camper, so it's not going to be on. While we're going over this, I normally do this last because it seems to stick a little better.
Your program if you want to. It don't matter.
Some of the control panels can be real confusing, so I try to save that for last because it seems to stick for people a little better if I go all the way back. For your stove, we'll make sure we got some gas turned on real quick. Excuse me.
I want to know how to do the oven.
I'll show you that
Okay.
as well, man. Basically, you just turn it on and then this is your igniter, so it's just like a gas barbecue grill.
Okay. Yeah.
Whenever you change it, whenever you change out a gas bottle, you always want to come in, light your eyes first, make sure you got a good blue flame, that way you don't have any air in the system before you start trying to operate the water heater on gas or your furnace, because it may have air in there. You got lights, and then also you got lights and then lights for the oven. Now for me, I've learned to use the door kind of as a mirror, so where I can see the pilot to keep from having to bend down and look. But sometimes it takes a minute to get the oven to light. Now my pilot light's lit. And and you just turn it to whatever temperature.
It was parking there when you were doing that. Is that?
All the igniters
Okay,
are
on
tied
the same
in.
one.
Are on
So-
the same one.
Did you push this? You
This-
turned,
Yeah.
which did you, okay, it's on off.
Go to pilot.
Uh-huh,
See the
pilot,
flame?
okay, pilot.
And then I'm gonna sit there and I see the pilot light lit. The reason why it's smoking is because it's brand new. It's
Right.
Yeah,
the new
sure.
off.
Okay,
There ain't no paper or nothing in there now. And like I say, over time you can learn to look down in the door and see that to keep from having to.
bend over and
Right.
look in and,
When you're traveling, sometimes this glass can kind of get to bouncing, so you definitely want to make sure it's secured or put something under it. Because if it gets to bouncing too hard, you know, it could break. If you're ever questioning, of course, you've also got the exhaust fan here, and you got a light. If you're ever questioning if you got power coming into your camper or not, look at your microwave. If you have power on your microwave, you should have power throughout your camper. If you don't have power here, but all your breakers are on, it's probably going to be your power source.
Okay.
On your refrigerator, it is a 12-volt refrigerator. The freezer is not a frost-free freezer, so if you leave this plugged up for a very long time, you're going to get some frost in here. You do need to thaw it every now and then. When you are thawing it, you want to put a towel or something right here because you will get moisture out of there. If you don't, it's going to run down, damage your styles. Plus, if you don't let it air out, especially after it's been on for a while and you're going to let it thaw, if you leave it closed up while it's thawing, you're going to get a smell in there.
Something I've always wondered, do y'all recommend leaving the refrigerators on all the time when you bring it home? You're not
Well,
going
the
out
thing
for a
about-
month or two?
The thing about, you know, just like any other appliance, you may get one where you could leave it on and let it run, and you may get 10, 15 years out of it. And then it could be one of those where a continuous run, you're lucky if you get 2 or 3 years out of it. It's just,
So you would turn it off?
I would. And really the only way to kill this, because with you having that solar panel, they're supposed to be starting to put an actual on-off switch to where you can kill the refrigerator. Now, when they're going to start doing that, I don't know, because the way the solar panel is wired in, you basically have to turn you have to disconnect one of the front breakers. They've got like a resettable fuse on the tongue. You actually have to disconnect it there to completely kill power going to the refrigerator from the solar panel.
Can you show me that fuse cord up there?
I will. By law, I have to show you this. This is your fire escape. The way it works, pull the handle up, shove it completely out the window, pop the screen, climb out the window. Now, that would probably be a lot easier to run out the door, but if I had to go out that, I'd probably hurt myself more crawling out
Yeah.
the window than I would run through the door.
I'd have to go out head first.
You got a couple of different read and light options there. You got USB chargers. You also got 110 outlets on both sides of the bed. Underneath the bed, you should have some storage. There's your power cord, and then that shelf actually slides back and forth.
Okay.
You got another 110 outlet there. That GFCI overlooked in the bathroom. I didn't show that to you. GFCI is located right here. The green light on it means that it's good. If you don't see the green light, it don't look like. If you don't see the green light, that lets you know it's good. Then all you do is just hit the reset button to reset.
don't get in front of my camera.
Let me go get a screw gun real quick, and then we'll go over and then we'll go. Got a feeling that's where it's at. grab a screwdriver, sorry, and open it up.
Okay. Tommy, those cushions are reversible. They are reversible. It doesn't have the tankless. Doesn't have the tankless water heater. Thought it did, but what do you think? I like it. I like it.
Oh, I never said it. This ain't too bad.
You're already enjoying it, right? So he's going to open this up and show us what's under there.
Yeah.
We saw that, remember, on a video?
Yeah.
What was under there? Forgot.
It's a water pump under there.
Yeah.
Now, depending on who you're talking to, how they'll actually tell you to, you know, drain the water and put antifreeze in.
Mm-hmm.
But a scenario that I see that happens a lot is, say you go out there and you open up your low point drains, you come in here and you open your faucets and you drain the whole system. And then you come over here, and this is your pickup hose that you would drop down into a bucket or a gallon of antifreeze, and you turn your water pump on. The problem is the system isn't primed, so it has a hard time picking it up. So what I suggest is, instead of draining at your low point drains, just leave them closed. You'll come over here, you'll turn this valve right here. You basically just take up the wires coming in the way. But you just, now it's pointing in line with this hose, so that means it's going to pick up from this hose. Drop the hose into your bucket of antifreeze, turn your water pump on, and then go to each one of your faucets and run it on cold and hot until you got pink antifreeze coming out. Now I'm gonna back up real quick. Before you do that, you'll want to come over here, take this panel off, and close the valves on the back of your water heater to bypass it.
Okay.
You want me to take that off so you can see
No, it just got one on there.
No, actually,
You don't have to take that.
you got a picture right here. I don't know if you can see it, but you got a valve on your cold inlet, a valve on your hot,
Okay.
and then you've got the bypass valve. So when you want water going into the tank, you know, you want that valve turned pointing to the tank. And then the bypass, you want it turned, you know, not in line with the hose.
Right.
Now, when you're going to bypass the water heater, you close this valve, close that valve, and then you open that valve.
Okay.
That way it bypasses the water heater.
Now that low point drain won't drain the water heater.
No.
Don't try to take the rod out.
So you'd still have to take that cap off and drain the water heater. Yes, sir. You don't want antifreeze going in the water heater, because the way the tank is, you can try flushing and flushing and flushing, but it just kind of sits there. It's hard to get out.
Okay. That's a lot easier than that pot. I had to get out on the floor, lay down, drink
Good.
up out of there.
I'm glad.
While I got this cover off, I'm going to show you. It's gonna be, this slide top is called a Swintech slide. Before you operate this slide, you want to try to have your camper as level as you can get it. Make sure you have a good 12-volt power source as well, where you're either make sure you have a good battery and you're plugged up to a truck, or you're plugged up to shoreline power. If you go to operate this slide and you have an issue, that's your control box right here for that slide. I know it's going to be kind of hard, but inside this square hole right there, there's a gray button. You press that gray button 6 times, and on the 6th, hold it. Or excuse me, on the 7th, hold it. And then you'll see it strobe from green to red. When you see it start strobing green to red, you're basically overriding the system, and you're putting the slide in manual mode so you can get it in or get it out. That's just where if you have an issue with it. Because this top slide doesn't have a manual override. You know, where you can crank it.
Right.
It's all electronic.
Well, how do you do it manual?
Well, the way you actually bring the slide in and out is on your control panel here. But what I'm saying is, say if the motor if the motors get out of sync with each other, and it looks like it's wanting to walk weed or something, that's when you mess with this.
Okay. I think we saw that on
We did.
YouTube.
On a YouTube. Somebody had trouble with theirs, and that's what they did.
Since you're talking about YouTube, YouTube is it's a great tool to use, but I strongly recommend going to a manufacturer's YouTube channel instead of an individual. A lot of individuals, they'll think they're giving you good information, but they could be giving you bad information. So we recommend going to an actual camper manufacturer's YouTube channel.
On this camper, maybe an unfair question, but you know, where we live in the south, we live 100 miles further south than you are. Unless it's getting down real bad cold, would you, if your personal camper, would you put the big stuff in?
If I drained all the water out, and me, I would even go as far as when I open my low point drains, open my faucets, drain everything, drain my water heater, I would blow a little air through the city input to blow it out a little better. You don't want to go blow it, you know, you want to make sure your system's open and make sure you're not blowing like 120, 130 PSI through there.
What about 40?
But yeah, just, 30, 40, blow it out good, you should be fine.
Well, we always put heat in here, heat in our camper too when it's bad. There's just so much more room in here than,
Oh, I know it.
than our spot.
Sure is.
On your TV, the mount will let it come out. This is something you may want to see here, sir. You got your cable satellite, but you also have an antenna booster. So when that red light's off, the antenna booster's off. When it's on, the antenna booster's on.
Okay.
Believe it or not, as long as you're out, not underneath the awning, you can pick up a good bit of channels with that antenna. Also, whenever you go to a campsite and you hook to their cable, you got to go into the TV settings and do a channel scan search, or you may not get all your channels. Another thing, when you're traveling, this little notch locks in here. When you're doing it, I almost feel like I'm gonna break the TV, because these flat screens sure have gotten kind of flimsy over the years. But you just, it locks in.
So that boost is supposed to be on or off? I don't understand.
If you're not hooked to cable and you're using the antenna, you want that on.
You want it on, and it'll be
hooked to cable, you want it off,
I got you.
because it can scramble your system.
It's red when it's on.
It's red when it's on?
When it's on.
Oh, see, I thought it would be
It's
green.
just a light indicating that it's on.
Okay.
The color really doesn't
All right.
matter or anything. You got your smoke detector. It does have a replaceable 9-volt battery in it. Your carbon monoxide detector, that's what I'm looking for. This is something you want to take really serious. If it goes off, it has a reset button right here on the front where you can reset it. If you've reset it 2 or 3 times and it still keeps going off, get your windows open, get a check to make sure you don't have an LP leak. These do have a shelf life of about 5 to 6 years, meaning 5 to 6 years from the manufacturer's date of this camper. It may start going off. You know you don't have an LP leak, but it will not reset. You just have to replace it. It doesn't have a replaceable battery like a smoke detector. You just have to replace the whole thing. It's wired into a 12-volt circuit, fairly easy to do.
Take that off and just kind of unplug it.
Just take the screws off, and then it'll have 2 wires back here. You disconnect them, hook it up, put it back. Here's all your 110 circuits, and here's all your 12-volt circuits. Now, some of these has a little LED indicator if a fuse blows, but this one doesn't. But these are just your standard automotive blade fuses. You can pick them up anywhere these days. And they are already labeled, so it tells you which is which, and then for your 12 volt, they're right here.
Okay.
You've got the fire extinguisher by the door here. I went over the fire escape. For the AC, this right here is called a blast zone. It seems to want to stick a little bit. So if you come in during the summer and you want to just try to cool this area off real quick, open that up and you're going to get a blast of cold air. Just don't leave that open because it's not insulated like your ductwork, and you will get a good bit of condensation through that.
On YouTube again, they sell kits. They say supposed to whiten that down. Is there anything to that?
Honestly, I've never seen any of them. I don't think we sell anything like that. So, I mean, it'd be something looking into.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
I'm looking for the day when they put the mini splits in here.
Yeah. On your thermostat here, when you walk up to it like this, it's just a touch sensor that tells you that it's off. That's your fan control where you can do high, low, or auto. But know that if your fan is on low or high and you turn your furnace on, your central fan is going to come on with it. So if you don't want the central fan on, but you want your furnace on, you need to be on auto. And then of course, we're going to go to furnace. At this case, the furnace is going to come on, just the furnace blower. You're not going to have the central fan going.
Can you repeat that last thing you said about the, if you have a low or high, it's gonna.
That's mine.
What was that again?
All right, so I'm going to show you, for example.
Okay.
The furnace is on right now.
Yeah.
The fan's on auto. But
Okay.
if I switch it to high with the furnace on, you're going to hear that central fan.
Okay.
Or it should.
Yeah.
So if I don't want the central fan on, I go to auto, back to furnace, and it'll just be your furnace blowing out of your vents like this.
Okay.
Now for the air, we still recommend running auto on your air. For example, if it's 110 degrees outside, but you're trying to get it 70 degrees in here, and you just put it on low or high, it's never going to cycle off. It's just going to stay on. Yes, you will have condensation issues. If you run it on auto, it'll get up to whatever temp you set it at, and then it'll cycle on and off. So we're on auto, we're going to go to air, and then just whatever temperature you want, you set it to that temperature, and it'll kick on and off with your thermostat.
You understand all this?
Yeah.
Because
It's basically the same way they do it.
just as long as you know how to work it.
What?
As long as you know how to work it.
This is called the welcoming bag. It has the owner's manual, all the appliances and everything in here. If there's something that you're wanting to research, do not Google this camper, this year model, and this model number, because due to COVID, there was a lot of things that they were having a supply issue with, so they may have substituted with a different brand. So, for example, say you want to know something about this microwave, you'll actually want to Google this brand of microwave with this model and serial number. So just look up that appliance instead of this camper. We're going to start with the radio. Pick up 105.9. Like say for example, you're in here cooking and you don't want to listen to music, but you're out here doing something you do. You got zones options here. So I'm gonna hold down zone 1, that turns the interior zone off, but you still have your outside speakers playing. A lot of campsites frown on outside speakers, so if you're gonna play, you may want to check with them first. To turn it back on, you just hold it down, it turns the zone back on. You have the Bluetooth option here, where if you want to, Bluetooth your phone to it. If you want to use the USB port, you just turn it to USB. You have an HDMI port here. Then of course you got the 3.5 millimeter, all that.
If you want the TV sound to come out your speakers, okay, will it do that?